And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Frank Milazzo, who during his near-death experience saw his grandfather on the other side, and today we're going to learn about that. Frank, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Jeff, it's an honor. It's an honor to be here with you and share my story.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Frank, let's start with a little bit of your backstory before we get into your NDE.
Okay, sure. So when I was 17, my grandfather was dying of emphysema, and my aunt had brought him to our house in Staten Island, so he would die at home, you know. So my grandma, she had my grandfather and my grandmother there, and my grandfather was upstairs in the den on the couch. And anyway, we got a call from my aunt, my mother did, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and that my grandfather was going to make it through the night. So my mother woke me up, and of course, I rushed right over. We rushed right over there. I drove, and we went up to the den, and my grandmother was up there, my uncle, I believe, and they had walked out. It was just me, my mother, and my grandfather. And I was sitting in a chair. My mother was sitting on the couch next to my grandfather was on the couch laying down. And I was sitting on a chair, like it was a small room, so across the room. And my mother was talking to my grandfather. And then my grandfather said to her, "Rosalie, I'm so tired." And my mother said, "Rest, Dad." And when she said that, his mouth dropped open and he had passed. But when he passed, I saw this like mist or cloud come up out of him, and the window was open and fly out of the window. And I was like, I said to my mother, "Mom, did you see that?" And she said, "See what, Frankie?" And I said, "Nothing, forget it, you know." So that was my connection to my grandfather, you know.
That's amazing to be able to actually witness that.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was, you know. Because I was like, where did that come from? I'd seen it come out of his body and just go right out the window, you know. So I was amazed. I was.
Was this mist that you saw in human shape in any way?
No, it was just like a mist, like a small cloud, like, you know, and it just came out of him the minute his mouth dropped, and right out, because the window was open behind him, there was a window, and right out the window. And I was like in shock. I was like, what did I just see? And I asked my mother, and I said, "Did you see that?" And she said, "What, Frankie?" I said, I didn't say anything because I didn't think she would believe me, you know.
Did the mist come out of his entire body or out of one specific point?
It came out of like his like out of his chest, out of like between his chest, his torso, you know. It just came right out and right out the window. It was fast. I mean, it happened fast, but I saw it, and I know what I saw. And I didn't share that with anybody in my family because I thought, you know, they think, well, he's crazy, you know. So I didn't say anything.
Was there anybody else in the room at the time?
My mother.
Besides your mother?
Just me and my mother and my grandfather. We were just the three of us.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move forward in time to the day of your NDE.
Okay. I was 21. I had just bought a new van. It was 1983. I was working in Manhattan for a delivery service. We were delivering flats of paper, unbinded magazines and stuff like that, paper. Yeah, it was like 75 pounds, 100 pounds each box. So, okay, so I get a delivery to go to Lake Success, New York, which I believe is part of Queens or just above Queens. I'm not sure. So I go there, I make the delivery, and I'm coming back. And I mean, I'm 21. I'm doing like 70 miles an hour on the highway. I want to get back so I can get more work, you know. And I hit a sewer that it was a new part of the roadway. They just finished paving it and doing it over. And the machine must have went over the sewer and crushed the cover up against the. So when I went over the divider, the sewer, it ripped my left wheel right off my van. So my van smashed right into the divider and rolled the divider for about 20 feet. But the impact of the crash brought the whole van underneath the chassis. And I must have gripped the steering wheel so tight on impact that when I went to see the van, the steering wheel was cracked. It was split in half. But I hit my face on the steering wheel, and I had hand trucks and dollies in the back. They came forward to hit me in the back of the head. And my leg was crushed underneath the front of, because the van came forward. Anyway, they had to take me out to the windshield when they came. And this is for, I had a gold chain around my neck. You know, Italian guys, we wore gold chains, you know. So I had a gold chain around my neck. I had cash in my pocket. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but when I woke up, it was all gone. So anyway, so, okay, I crash. They take me out to the windshield. I go to the hospital. I'm in a coma. Then I find myself in this room, this dark room. And I look down. Now I'm in front of like an old Wurlitzer jukebox. No music coming out of it, you know, and just a light from the jukebox on me because it was pitch dark. And I'm saying to myself, where am I? You know, and I look down and there's all fog on the floor, like covering my feet. And I don't know where I am. I'm saying, where am I? What's going on? You know? And I feel a hand come around my shoulder. And I look to my left and it's my grandfather. And he says to me, Frankie boy, you have to go back. It's not your time. We're not ready for you yet. And I said, okay, Grandpa. And next thing I know, I'm waking up in the hospital in this room. They had me laying on a sheepskin so I wouldn't get bed sores. And the nurse was leaning me, had me sitting up, the nurse was leaning me forward and washing my back. So when I woke up, she started screaming, he's awake, you know, so I didn't even know where I was. I had no recollection of the accident when I woke up. And then another nurse came to me and she said, you know, we have you in a room where we're ready to transport you. You died. And I said, where am I? What happened? You know, she said, and she told me, you were in a bad car accident. You know, the first thing I did when I woke up was feel for my leg because I couldn't feel my leg. And I felt the cast because I had a compound fracture of my left leg. I broke my tibia and fibula. So that was the first thing I did. So anyway, I mean, my grandfather came to me, he sent me back, you know, and I believe the connection with my grandfather was that I saw his soul leave his body. And that was why God sent him to me, because I would I would feel, I would feel comfortable, you know, I wouldn't be afraid, like if it was a stranger that came to me, you know.
When you saw your grandfather, what age did he appear to be?
He was like when he was younger that I remembered him, like maybe like in his 50s, because he was in his 70s when he passed, you know. So when I saw him, I wanted to ask him, Grandpa, what am I doing here? You know, and we didn't speak by mouth. It was all telepathic, you know, like mind to mind. And but before I could ask him, and he said those words to me that you have to go back. We're not ready for you yet. It's not your time. You know.
It's interesting that there was a jukebox in the room.
Yeah, you know why, Jeff? Let me tell you. Let me tell you what. When I was like 15, 16, you know, in Brooklyn, you have all different neighborhoods, and you always have a group of kids that are good friends that hang out together. You know, 10, 15 kids, boys and girls. Anyway, make a long story short. So we had that. You know, we were hanging out on the corner. You know, like that's what you did in Brooklyn. You know, and so there was a bar across the street, and there was an old man, an old lady that owned the bar. And in one winter, they called us over and they said, "Listen, we have the back area of the bar where the jukebox is and the pinball machine and a shuffleboard, but for bowling shuffleboard. You could come in here, you can't drink, but you could stay in here, stay warm. So, we went there, and that's the room that I found myself in when I had the NDE in that back room of the bar. It was like I was saying to myself, where am I? But I recognized where I was. But the jukebox where I must have thrown God knows how much money into, it was a different jukebox. It was an old Wurlitzer jukebox. So that's what threw me off. But the room, I knew where I was. I was in that back room of the bar.
Was there music playing?
Nothing. It was there was nothing happening. I didn't hear no music. I mean, someone asked me on the side, did I see my body rise or anything? None of that happened to me. I just woke up in that room. That's how it happened for me.
Sometimes near-death experiencers, when they're on the other side, have this overwhelming feeling of love and happiness and bliss. Did you experience that?
I felt that when I woke up. I was so calm. I just felt so peaceful. Even though I felt my face was full of stitches, my teeth were knocked out, my front lip was split in half, and I was making jokes with the nurse, and because I asked her, I said, "Do you have a mirror?" And she goes, "You don't want to see your face. It's all, your nose is all swollen, you're all cut up." So I said, "Please." So she showed me the mirror, and I looked at my nose, and I'm Italian, so I said, "Nah, that's nothing. My nose has always been that big." And she started laughing, and I started laughing. But I felt so peaceful, I had such a peaceful, like it didn't scare me. And she goes, "I can't believe you're making jokes." I said, "Well, what am I going to do?" But I felt so peaceful, It's true. And I did.
When you were on the other side with your grandfather, did you make any connection like, oh, I must be dead?
No, I didn't. I really didn't. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know I died till the nurse told me. I I was confused when I was like, what am I doing here? Where am I? I knew I recognized the room, you know, because there was a doorway that went into the kitchen where they used to prepare food, and I seen the doorway there, and I just I felt comfortable where I was. I wasn't afraid, I didn't have no fear, you know, so it was a strange. I was confused, but I was comfortable. I felt peaceful. I wasn't afraid. And when my grandfather came to me, like he was so like loving in his words, the way he spoke to me. He spoke to me softly. And I just looked at him, and before I could respond to him, I woke up in the hospital.
After the experience, did you notice that you had any new abilities that you didn't have prior that could be possibly considered psychic?
I did find that I had the ability to adapt to situations that would otherwise, break other people. And I also, like, my mother's gone 5 years now, but she comes to me in my dreams and reassures me that everything's going to be okay. And I could see her. I could see, and she's young, and it's not. When I see her, it's not like when she was sick. She's always young and beautiful, like when I was a kid. I could sense things happening before they happen, and like when I walk into a room, I can read the room. I found. I also found that I had the ability to do things that I didn't have before. Like I taught myself how to drive a tractor trailer, how to operate heavy machinery. It was like whatever asked of me, I said, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I had no idea how to do it, but in minutes, I was doing it. So strange abilities that I have now that I didn't have back in the past. Yeah, things like that.
I'm going to make an assumption here, but being Italian, most likely you grew up Catholic.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school the whole 9 years.
Did the NDE cause you to change any of your beliefs about religion?
They're stronger now. I have a personal connection with God. I pray every night. There's days I don't think I can get through the day. I pray for strength. He always answers me. My faith is much stronger now, because he brought me back, and he brought me back for a reason. And I know he's got something in store for me, and I know he wants me to do things. And I'm not a fanatic in any way, and I don't know if anybody's going to get offended by that, but I don't preach to people. I don't try to push my beliefs on people. I don't believe in that, and but my connection with God is so strong now. He's stronger than ever, and my spirituality is so strong, So yeah, I believe it has changed, I always believe in God, but not as strong as it has been,
And what other ways do you feel like you've changed after your NDE?
I've become more compassionate, more loving. I want to give to others, I want to help others. I have 25 years clean and sober. I want to share what I learned over those years with other people in recovery. I want to help. I got this desire just to help people. Like I said, I feel like one of his missions that he brought me back was to take care of my parents, and I did that. Took care of my mother and my father, till they passed. Was holding my mother's hand when she passed. Yeah, I have a desire to help others. I don't know. I just want to give of myself. Definitely, I definitely have changed. Yeah.
Has the memory of that experience faded over time?
No, it hasn't. Never. And recently it came back to me so strong. Like God wanted me to remember what happened. And it's just been really so strong. Lately it came back.
Why do you think it's come back stronger?
Well, I had told you earlier, I broke my shoulder a year and a half ago, and I had to have a titanium prosthetic put in. And I believe that I was straying from my faith, and that God, I'm not going to say he did that to me, because I never blame him for anything that happens in my life. I don't do that, but I believe that happened because if he had to put me on a path to be stronger than I was, I believe I was getting weak. So he made me stronger, because he knows that deep down I know that he has things to do that I have to do, for him, So, and I've had experiences. I told you earlier about my experience, and that did make me stronger and believe in myself more. And so I'm ready. I'm just at night I ask him, send me a sign. Like, what do you want me to do? What's my next thing to do? So I talk to him every night.
Do you fear death at all?
I don't. Not at all. I have no fear of death. I believe when it's my time, he'll take me. And I'm not afraid of it. I'm not.
If you had a friend that just lost a family member and was grieving, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would tell them that, if they were suffering, the old cliche, they're in a better place. I don't like using that, because that doesn't help someone that's grieving for you to say that to, I would sit and talk to them and ask, tell them to think about the good memories they had, of the person, and to hold on to those memories and not think about, the sadness of them passing, just to hold on to the good memories of that person and always remember that. And, you know, what can you really say to someone that's grieving? I have friends on Facebook, women that lost sons, and every day they're posting about how it's ripping them apart, and it breaks my heart, to see things like that. And like I'll comment that that it breaks my heart to see you going through this, and but I mean, what do you say? What can you really say to someone that lost someone? When I lost my mother, I had no, I had friends I reached out to that night. When I lost my mother, I was holding her hand, and she had passed 2 o'clock in the morning. So I stayed with her to 6 and went home to shower, asked the nurse not to move, went home, showered, and went back. And then stayed with her to 7 and stayed with her to 8 and was talking to her till I couldn't take it. So, but when I got in the car to drive home, I cried. I had to be strong when she passed because I had phone calls to make. So I couldn't cry, And when I got in the car, I was crying. I called a few people, and they tried to comfort me. But what do you say to someone that's grieving also? You just try to comfort them. And what I would say is just think of the good times you had. Always hold on to them. Never let those memories go. And that they're always with you. Because I believe my mother's always with me. So you got to believe they're always with, and you'll see them again. The time is going to come that you will see them again.
What inspires you about your experience?
It was an amazing experience. I mean, something I'll never forget, something that memory is right at the forefront of my brain. I mean, for my grandfather to come to me and tell me it wasn't my time, like when I woke up in the hospital and they brought me up to the room. So the first thing, my uncles and my aunts were there, my mother, and the first thing I said to them was, I seen Grandpa, he sent me back. And my uncle said to me, you were dreaming, So, I was like, in my mind, I knew I wasn't dreaming. I know what I saw, but that was his response. So like, I never brought that up again to anybody, And recently I met someone, a woman that had a near-death experience. And I believe she was sent to me as a guide to help me further my spirituality and to help me understand what I'm going through, She's a friend. She's a good friend. Matter of fact, she was a guest on your show. Yeah. So, but I'm not going to mention her name, but yeah, she had a near-death experience too. And the funny thing is, she was a friend of mine on Facebook, right? And I would post things about God, and she messaged me, and I was like, "Who is this woman?" Always liking my stuff, but she messaged me one day to ask me a question, and we started talking, and she showed me her book because she wrote a book about her experience, and I was like, "Wow, that's you," because I've seen you on YouTube, so I know. So God is doing things now for me where He's trying to, I want to say, awaken me and inspire me to do what I'm meant to do. I just haven't figured that out yet, but I will, I will.
Do you feel like you're still processing the experience?
In a way I am, because I'm trying to figure out, like, why did He bring me back? What is it that He wants me to do? What is it? What mission does He, what road does He want me to walk? What journey does He want me to go? And I tell a lot of people, like right now, it's just me and God. And, no, I don't need family or anybody. I could, as long as I have Him, I could do it, so. I'm still processing it. I am.
You told me this earlier, that you died also as a child.
Yes,
you didn't have any type of NDE experience, but I'm wondering, since that did happen to you, Somehow it fundamentally changed you, which gave you the ability to see your grandfather's spirit leave his body.
Yeah, I died. I was hit by a car by a drunk driver when I was 7. And not only did he hit me once, he knocked me down the street. And I guess it was true. He said his foot slipped off the brake and hit the gas. But when I went down the street, he ran me over again. And this time I went underneath the car and stuff. So I died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I had a severe brain injury because I was bending over to pick up a ball when he hit me. So he hit me right in my head. So I died in the ambulance, and I was bleeding. I was bleeding on my brain. And when I died in the ambulance, I don't know how long I was dead for, but by some miracle, the blood started coming out of my ear. So the pressure was relieved in my brain. And they were working on me, so I came back. But I don't have any recollection of an NDE or, I mean, like I told you, I didn't even remember my parents when I woke up. But the thing is, the doctors told my mother his brain injury is so severe and the bleeding that he's going to be, he's not going to be the same with me. So, he's going to be, I don't want to use the word that I want to use because I find it offensive, but he's going to be mentally challenged when he wakes up. And when I did wake up, and I was fine, and when I went back to school, I was smarter than ever. I had this ferocious appetite to read. I just wanted to read as many books as I can. And I would stay up all day and all night. I would finish a book in like hours, we had the book club in Catholic school, so I would order all these books and my mother, would pay for them. But I had this ferocious appetite to read. And I would read as much as I could. And it definitely changed me in a way, in some way,
Do you ever sit and think that you had 2 opportunities to leave this life, but you're still around, so you must be here for some purpose?
I think about that all the time, and especially now, because after I broke my shoulder and I went through that experience I told you, and it was something God did to, I'm not going to say to me, I'm going to say for me, because it was a lesson I had to learn. And I learned that lesson and made me stronger and more confident in myself. And that's why I believe he's prepping me to do whatever he brought me back twice to do, like there's something he wants me to do. I just can't figure it out, but I will. I know it'll come. He sends me signs in certain ways that I recognize now that I don't think I would have recognized if I didn't have an NDE, and he puts people in my life now. Now he's bringing people into my life, and I know he's got something in store. I know he wants me to do something. I know he does. I feel. I feel like I don't sleep. I got insomnia for 15 years, so if I sleep 3-4 hours a night, I'm good. And I'll go through the day. I don't nap during the day. I go for a 3-mile walk every day. But at night when I'm up, because I wake up like 2-3 in the morning every night, and I go outside and I look into the sky, and I talk to him, and I ask, what do you want me to do? Like I said, I never blame him for nothing. I don't do that. That's nothing. Nothing that happens in your life it's his fault. That's consequences of your actions. That's what I believe. You did something that caused what happened to happen. Now you got to deal with the consequences. That's what I believe.
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions.
That's fine with me.
What's the best way to reach you?
Well, what do you suggest? I'm on Facebook, Frank Milazzo. They could always reach out to me there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to give my phone number on a podcast. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think
people can reach out. People can reach out to me on Facebook. I'm there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. Like you did, just the way you did. I respond.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if anybody needs to talk to me, I'm here for anybody because, like I said, I feel like one of the things he brought me back is to help others, you know. So, like, I'm here for anybody. You know, I'll never turn anyone away.
Well, Frank, before we finish up, can you give us one last positive message?
Life on life's terms is not easy, and God will never abandon you. He'll always be with you. And at times when you feel alone, like you're walking the journey alone, you're not. He's carrying you. He's always with you, you know. So don't ever feel that he would abandon you, because he won't. And, you know, if you don't believe in God, listen, that's your belief. That's not my job to force my religion on you. And I don't judge, you know, because everybody has different beliefs. So, you know, live your life, believe what you want. Try to always stay positive. There's always something positive in a bad day. Something will happen during the day if you're having a bad day that you say, oh, you know what? Today's not so bad, you know. And that's it.
Frank, thank you for that message, and thank you for being my guest.
Jeff, thank you so much. I so appreciate you having me, and I so enjoyed sharing my story.
Thank you, Frank.
And I hope it helps others, you know.
It will.
I hope so.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.